Okay, hello everyone again. I wanted to cover one thing that I realized after making the video on doing just intonation Dorico using that 11,998 tone EDO. And what I realized was that because it was no longer equal to 12,000, the interval that is being used is no longer technically a cent, because a cent is that 100 subdivisions of an equal tempered semitone. So that's going from a white key to a black key on a piano, or E to F, B to C on the two white keys. But so it was no longer a cent, and I sort of realized it after I did it, which tends to be a common occurrence. You get excited, you do something, and then you realize, oh wait, there's a little something extra here. But I hope you've enjoyed some of the journey of figuring out how to do this and do it better and more accurately each time. And if you have ideas, and perhaps you already realized that when you maybe watched the last thing and you thought, what are they doing? Like, this is crazy, like, it's wrong. And if you have better ideas too, totally feel free to comment, just be nice about it and say like, hey, what about this? What about that? I totally love it. I'm always learning too. Just intonation is not it's a simple concept, but the practice of it, there's a lot to it. So I'm always thinking about, oh wait, that is actually not a cent, or that is more like this. And yeah, so it's a big process, but I don't want to talk too much. Let's get right into it. So what I realized is that we weren't dealing with cents anymore. And to kind of address that issue, which that issue being that we've essentially taken 2 cents out of the 12,000 EDO for this nice 11,998 EDO, which is what I got when I plug in the Johnston cent values into Dorico's tonality system, which, you can just take a look at that right now. So if you look over here, all these numbers are actually the number of cents between these intervals. And if you add all these up, you get 11,998. And so these are not cents anymore. We're sort of in new territory, but it's a territory that is actually very effective at rendering and representing just intonation at a acoustic and perception level. It really does sound good. It sounds just. It sounds like what you would expect. And so because we're kind of dealing with a new territory, I thought it would be useful to come up with a new term. So I was kind of on a run, and I was thinking like, oh, what would it be, like cents? And I thought, well, this is just intonation, so why don't we come up with a new term called Xent? So the Xent, which, the Zen harmonic world, is kind of a popular term used to describe generally microtonal, just intonation, just anything that basically isn't 12-tone equal temperament. So I'm thinking we need maybe a new term to define how we are subdividing the octave, or not an octave, subdividing the octave in this case. So, so it's sort of a term that came to mind. I was like, okay, yeah, the Xent. And it can be more of a general term. Basically anything that is not a perfect cent cent being no different than the penny to the dollar, right? It's 100 pieces of a whole. So a Xent can be any number of pieces to any whole, which is nice because X is often a variable. So it kind of adds to the meaning of it. Like, it's a Xent. It's some division of some whole. So it's a bit more of a general term. And so kind of a definition I came up with is some small division of an interval that differs So yeah, in this case, it differs imperceptibly from Xents. But in the future, I don't know, maybe it could be expanded on a bit more to maybe it does differ. But let's just say is some small division of an interval of, how about this? Is some small division of some interval, right? And we kind of define it. So in this case, we have 11,998 Xents per octave. So this begs the question. So when you type Johnson accidental pitch shifts in Xents, will they still work in Xents? And just sort of taking some time to ruminate over this, I was thinking that those 2 cents that we've taken out of the 12,000 EDO to adjust, or basically, those 2 cents we took out. The way it will work now that this is, Dorico is saying this is this many divisions per octave, that means those 2 cents are going to be distributed over the octave by the amount of steps. So I'm thinking basically we need to think like 2 and then divide it by 12,000. So let's just say 2 divided by 12,000. We're going to get this number. And so we're talking 0, so tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So 10,000ths of a cent. And we're looking at 1, if you round up, like half of a 10,000th of a cent. Which I think this makes sense. If you don't think it makes sense, feel free to comment and say, what are you talking about? Something that does come to mind, actually spontaneously in the moment, just kind of going with the flow, is that we can also think of this maybe as 2 divided by that, our number of steps. 2 divided by that. Why does it look so funny? Okay. So it's going to be a very similar number, but it doesn't want to give us any decimal. That's a cool factorization. That's a cool prime. Okay, sorry, getting distracted. So if we look on the number line, it's going to be about like 0.0002 ish. So if I'm reading that correctly, and please excuse any mistakes on my part, it's a bit of a mind bender. So we're thinking like, so that much of a cent deviation. So more or less, when we say Xents are pretty darn close to cents, in this case, we're going to be pretty spot on. A pretty good representation of just extended just intonation. And if you take the Johnston values right out of the Kyle Gann website or wherever you get the values from, and you just put them into the pitch bends, they're going to be really close. They're going to be pretty spot on. And just working with what I've set up thus far in Dorico. This is the same example from last time, but just to show it, like, it's pretty spot on. So here's a measure of just intonation. Here's a measure of 12-tone equal temperament. So let's just take a listen to check our work perceptually at the perceptual level. So we listen. So yeah, pretty good. And just to give an example of some just intonation, hearing some of those other partials. Yeah. So that's it. I just wanted to do a straight up concept talk just to kind of justify or back up the system that I have put forth in the last video. And then just to kind of share this kind of idea that I thought was pretty fun to play with, the Xent. So if you find it inspiring, feel free to take it and have fun with it. And I don't know, just kind of experiment with the concept. Like, what if I don't divide that octave by some like nice divisible number, like 12,000? Like, what if I use a kind of a weird number like this? Or yeah, I don't know. If you find it interesting or stimulating, thought-provoking, and you end up making something with it, like, feel free to share. You can like post a link in the comments or whatever. Yeah. So anyways, happy writing, happy just intonationing, and yeah, have fun.